Welcome back. This is the fourth episode of our video series on anticipatory governance and foresight in support of the Foundational Digital Capabilities Research Program. Our previous episodes explored how and why we use futures and foresight in scholarship and in research design. We followed up with sharing some initial environmental scanning-based insights into long-term trends and governance challenges in our interest field of digital economies. In this particular episode, we will delve a little deeper into asking some future-oriented questions about artificial intelligence, AI, and Africa. The episode is developed with contributions from 3 WITS University professors who we invited into conversations about our theme. We begin by offering an emerging framework for AI inquiry based on a recent white paper by Professor Rosman and myself. This paper proposes the 3 horizons of thinking to structure our inquiry into AI, and I will use the crucial challenge of AI and the future of work as an illustrative example. The first, the current horizon, or Horizon 1, focuses on managing present-day threats such as research on policies trying to avoid losing jobs to automation. The second, the emerging horizon, is about exploring the transitional space where ruptures may begin to emerge in the way things have worked until now. For example, this is the space of imagining jobless futures, which may require developing new economic and social safety nets. Finally, we have the transform horizon, Horizon 3, which invites consideration of more radical societal shifts at the level of alternative ontologies, which are our different ways of being and relating in the universe. So it would, for example, be about imagining a life beyond current capitalistic ideas about work and the human endeavor. The 3 horizons of thinking about AI helps on a conceptual level with locating various aspects of your research and critique, but also with being appreciative of other horizon perspectives. Now we go to the second part of our video with some expert views on interesting questions about AI futures for Africa. We start by addressing the immediate challenges of AI deployment on the continent. We asked some questions. Professor Rosman was asked, what is the single biggest danger of importing foreign AI systems for the African context?
I think it's something worth worrying about. Are we only using technology developed in other places? And how deeply do we understand that technology? Right? As this technology becomes more and more prevalent, as it becomes more key infrastructure in so many different applications and sectors and kind of key to many people in our societies, we should be asking the question, is it okay for us to just be consuming technology developed elsewhere? And while I think there's so much great value in doing so, it's important to have our own homegrown solutions and homegrown understanding. This talks to really being able to figure out when is it the right time to be using a certain technology, or what are the risks associated with a technology, or in fact even coming up with new ideas that may have economic benefits or be built in a way that are tailored to the problems we're facing here or somewhere else.
That risk of misaligned systems brings up the wider conversation of AI in development. Professor Gagledorne, is AI for development a savior or just techno-solutionism in a new package?
I'm not that old, but I'm old enough to have seen different waves of techno-solutionism coming to the continent. The 1990s, the internet is going to come to Africa, and now the mobile phone is coming to Africa, and then the social media coming to Africa, and all these things, there were expectation that it will do certain things. But the trope is always, Africa needs to be fixed. And we are tired of it, but this narrative is very powerful. So even people who were listening to Trevor Noah, his podcast recently, I interviewed Mustafa Suleiman, one of the smartest people out there, first at DeepMind, now at Microsoft, and he fell for the idea that, now farmers are using AI to finally know that these crops, like the same things were being said like 10 years ago, 15 years ago, the mobile phone, and these erase all the local knowledge, understanding many years. Of course, we are struggling with doing things at scales. We don't have to fool ourselves. But this idea that technology will come and fix, it's dated, it's tired. And the problem is we have to find ways, when I say we, is especially university in collaboration with entrepreneurs, example on how things can be done differently, not the lazy, let's use AI for better farming, which is important in some cases, but the big narrative, that's the problem.
Moving beyond the immediate, AI governance requires a profound shift in thinking. A question for the public sector is, how do we overcome the poverty of imagination when governing AI in a crisis-focused environment? I think we could also think about more open standards and standards that are more protective, whether it's in terms of making sure that people aren't getting stuck into corporate models that they don't understand, or vendor lock-ins that they don't understand, or extractive approaches or contracts that they don't quite get. And I think these things are coming up almost daily, weekly, monthly as tech evolves and as companies and as actors think of more and more things to do. It seems to me that the future forward approach to this needs to be more proactive thinking around what actually should be the relationship of citizens to their own data. That's proactive thinking. It's not just waiting for the next problem to come up. So people's eyes are getting scanned and selling their data for 10 Rand or whatever, then it's a problem. But I think there's a prior stage at which we can actually ask questions about where do we see these trajectories around AI in general, around data specifically. We talk about sovereignty at a national level, but I think there's sovereignty issues at many levels, and I think there's proactive work required there to think about forms of regulation, but also forms of literacy that really begin to make sure that people understand what's going on and can have some self-determination about how they see themselves in relation to these technological trends, and not just always be reacting to the latest problem that's come up, the latest extraction that's come up. That need to overcome a poverty of imagination means we must face our biggest future fears head on. One of the most discussed anxieties in the global discourse is artificial general intelligence, or AGI. This is a core Transform Horizon question, a Horizon 3 question. Returning to Professor Rosman, the question was, what does the prospect of a world coded by computer scientists, and what AGI specifically, might mean for Africa?
AI has been developed with this kind of singular goal towards building AGI, or artificial general intelligence. The idea of machines that have the capabilities and competencies of kind of a human in any cognitive tasks that we might find interesting. This is an interesting technical challenge, but many questions arise on what this actually means for society. Now, I'm a computer scientist, and I'm not completely convinced that these powerful entities that have all the capabilities of humans should be built entirely by computer scientists. And I'm not sure I'm entirely comfortable with the idea that people like myself are trying to build this technology that's hailed as the thing that can do anything. And for this reason, I think it's really important that we more actively pursue different kinds of collaboratory research. We think more in a more interdisciplinary kind of way. And it's really key to bring together people from absolutely every discipline, every area in society, to be thinking about, what is this technology? What can it do? What can't it do? What does it mean? How should we be engaging with it from a work perspective, but also from a psychological perspective?
The speed of change is also threatening our foundational institutions. Professor Gagledorne, when AI can generate perfect fake news tailored to every user, what will be the meaning of democracy?
Democracy, it's working in ways that's been hacked, in ways that needs the whole rethinking of the electoral ideas of democracy. So fake news, the perfect fake news, is just the latest instantiation, a very long list of ways in which politicians and groups have sort of, again, hacked that tool that used to be working. A lot of people lost their life to create like universal suffrage and everybody being able to vote. But can we, I would like to go back to the good old days of John Perry Barlow Declaration of the Independence of Cyberspace, where these open fields where could reimagine democracy completely from the bottom up. And then we realized that it wasn't working. But the fact that it didn't work then, does it mean that we have to just give up completely? And I'm not saying autocracy, China's autocracy is a solution. I'm saying, can we look for like local ways to be democratic and participatory that doesn't have to fix a tool that it's broken, and we have to realize it's broken. And fake news is just the latest problem in a long list of problems. So let's think laterally if we can, and then build different examples where communities are able to organize in ways that the fake news doesn't matter anymore.
Ultimately, AI research in Africa must be judged by its long-term impact. We posed one final question to all our contributors. What should be the ultimate measure of success for a future-oriented Africa AI research agenda?
Other AI tools, I'm talking in particular about the chatbots, are the perfect slave, someone who is going to do things for us. Or when they come to realize that they are all powerful, we are going to be enslaved and they are going to do the running of things. And this dichotomy, the institution has to just control it. Sure, we have to have ethics in place, we have to have, governing process in place. But I'm much more inspired than, talking with colleagues at Tairisha and elsewhere by people who think differently. Shannon Valor's idea of the AI as a mirror. By interacting with this tool, we also realize something of ourselves that makes us less anxious to just say, okay, hyper-productivity now, make me more productive, or but what if what I'm doing right now is going to make you so powerful that then you're going to take over, and creating a space that is really different. And so institution matters, but also the processes through which I would like my AI co-companion to be part of this institution and say, okay, we're building it together. It's like, regulating for people that never participate in the process. So we are the decision maker, we are the policy maker, and we regulate you guys without having you ask a question. It doesn't work, and it can work differently for AI as well.
When we think about the future, I always like to ask who. For me, it's one of the best questions, like who benefits, who creates it, who gets to benefit from it, both in terms of if it's commercialized, who gets the commercial benefit, if it's developmental, who gets the developmental benefit, if somebody's getting the job, so to speak, getting to do the work, getting to participate, who gets to do that. I feel like we don't always ask questions on all of those levels because it's easy to be sold the idea that, you're benefiting because ultimately you're the one drinking the Coke. But, there are many questions we could ask. Who's making money off the Coke? Who's producing the Coke? Who's getting to decide the color of the Coke bottle? Who's getting to decide if the cap is metal or plastic? I've seen billboards talking about this. I think we have to be asking all of those questions about anything. And so I think any ultimate measure really needs to be saying, from a research agenda perspective, who are we centering in the research, both as the producers of knowledge, but as the people who get affected positively or negatively by whatever's coming out of the research. Obviously, research always wants the freedom to be a bit open-ended, and I think that's fine. But I think if we're going to talk about the impact of research, I think for me it's always the who, but the who across the pipeline, not just the who at one convenient point of it. Often questions about impact are also very long range, and I think that's important because sometimes the impact question in 2 years is not the same answer as the impact question in 20 years. And I think in these spaces, especially as we're talking about technologies that really have short-term impact, but also long-term consequence, we have to be able to think through those timelines.
AI could be amazing for X% of the population and terrible for Y% of the population. And the question that keeps me up at night is, how do we make sure X is as big as possible and Y is as small as possible? And that it's not just aligned to your means or what your current standing is in society. And, with a kind of technology that's got the ability to amplify anything, including the bad, it's really important that we're building the technology, that we're building our infrastructure, that we're building our governance systems with this in mind, with the idea of saying that we've seen technologies go wrong in the past, and each time we have a new generation of it, the stakes get higher. And how do we make sure that what we're doing at the moment is really maximally beneficial for everybody?
These discussions have taken a long view on digital innovation and AI, moving beyond the immediate technical or economic concerns of current scholarship. By centering on sustainable social outcomes and ethical governance in tech, we've explored how technologies like Gen AI are not just tools, but structural forces reshaping social and political systems. This systemic perspective encourages you to integrate long-term thinking into your own research endeavors, prompting new questions about measurement, collective agency, and impact in a digitally mediated world. This episode was part of a learning series on anticipatory governance and foresight in digital research. We hope that these videos are encouraging you to consider how an anticipatory perspective, as well as some of the concepts, tools, and methods shared throughout this series, might be of value in shaping your own research agenda in foundational digital capabilities research. Thank you for joining us. We look forward to seeing how you apply this futures thinking to your own work.